So I've had more than a few comments on but hasn't the BrightDrop been canceled? Why would you go with that? How are you ever going to get parts? So I thought I'd do two things in this video. One, show what the BrightDrop actually looks like up on a lift and what the systems look like, and show how it's actually put together, because it's functionally the same as the Silverado EV and the GMC EV truck. And yes, that's the wall from the inside, but that's for a different video. So a view I don't think I've seen anybody else post what the BrightDrop looks like from under it. If somebody else has posted it, throw it down in the comments. I'd love to see what other people have talked about as they've gone through this. The BrightDrop 600 comes in two variants, a 9,990 pound gross weight and an 11,000 pound gross weight. I put both of them up and gone through the service guide in both. They are exactly the same. It is a legal and logistics reason why they have two variants, because in some states, to drive anything over 10,000 pounds requires you to have a commercial driver's license. So they made two versions of it. From an insurance perspective, it's actually quite a bit cheaper to have the 9,990 pound variant. So that's what I bought. The similarities to the 4WT and the new modern LT version of the Silverado, as well as the GMC EV, are striking. It's the same rear motor assembly. It's the same battery pack assembly. The front motor assembly is identical, all the way down to how the junction box is set up on the front of the battery. There are a different number of modules in this than the 4WT. It's functionally the 3WT. In total number of modules, it's 170 and change kilowatt hours. They went through all kinds of work to make sure this thing was rugged, because it was for commercial use and it was going to get beat up a lot. They've double gusseted everything. The only thing I don't like is these big pockets that are open underneath, and the exposed high voltage that things could get packed or thrown up from road debris. So I'll probably come up with some shield, which also may increase aerodynamics. It does not look like any of this was for cooling. And if it was, then I will have to come up with something else to vent it, but it really doesn't make sense to leave these pockets open. I'm not going to use them for anything else, and once the seat's mounted, which will end up being for the passenger seat right about here, which we can see is outside of the battery area, there's really no reason to need to access it quickly. So no reason not to bolt the plate up. On the rear, we've got the same kind of problem, and the 4WT has this issue too. There's this big area where they could have put a spare tire, and the spare tire mount is even there. But they didn't supply it. Maybe they did in the Canadian market, which I believe is the only other place this was sold. But nonetheless, what they did do here was make a really nice area for putting tanks. There is plenty of space here to put two 35-gallon tanks, one black, one gray. I'll probably come up with a slightly smaller black and a slightly larger gray. Haven't come up with the plan on that side yet. It's one of the wife's requirements is that the tankage on this kind of match up with what we've done with other Class A's that we've put together or owned for the number of days that we want to use it. We don't want a wet bath. We're going to do a full bath in it. There's space to do it. We just give up a little extra living space, and for us, that's worth it. But overall, impressed with how this is put together. The one kind of disappointing thing, I've seen a number of people say you could mount a hitch to this rear step. That's a no. They mounted it and welded it up in this top section and then bolted it on these. This is strong enough to step on. The 400-pound rating that the service manual says it has, I do not disagree with at all, but you're not going to tow anything off the back of that. You could, however, there's plenty of structure up here and plenty of structure on these bottom rails to do a drop-down hitch and back, though I wouldn't put any horizontal loading on it. I think you could probably do some vertical loading on it, maybe tow a Smart or something along those lines if you wanted to have a toad. But this isn't that big, and it can be your toad where you go. The only thing that I could see us doing is hanging off the back of this something along the lines of maybe a couple of Vespas or something. If we could find a good set of electric ones that made sense, like we rented in Europe a couple of years ago. But overall, like I said, impressed with how this is put together. The junction boxes are all very clean on how they did them. See, not sure how the lighting is going to come out. But the only thing I am not impressed with, which is the same problem Tesla has had, is there is no shielding for any of this. And all of this is in the spray flow from these tires. So that is something I will have to correct. But nonetheless, exactly what you expect, and it is down to the model number. The same part number for the motor that is on the back of the 4WT that is sitting out front. The only thing that you can see that's different on these is this one is a year newer than my 2024 out there. But GM and made in China, the motor assembly, which may be also why these got discontinued. This motor would now be subject to tariffs on the import. GM, unlike Tesla, is not making their own. But overall, good design. I like it. It's too bad they discontinued it. It'll be interesting if they bring back something similar. Given what it took to buy this, I can understand why they had trouble selling them. I could not find a dealer who wanted to sell them to me, even when they had them sitting on their lots. And then when I did get it, it took almost 2 months now to get title, because they couldn't figure out how to process the title if I wasn't buying 25 of them. And that, I don't think, is the market that they were going to sell these in. These would have been great for electricians, for plumbers, for local tradesmen who could then either charge them at home or charge them at their shop. From a delivery standpoint, it's got plenty of range. You could use them like the Rivian vans get used by Amazon, but that market's already been sold to Rivian, and Amazon's not going to go buy these in bulk when they already have the others unless they were substantially cheaper. And the Rivian vans aren't wearing out, from what I've heard from people who have bought them through various channels to own their own, which was one option we looked at, but they're very skinny on the inside. Nonetheless, this should be an interesting project, and I'm glad to see all of this empty space that I can put tanks in back here, and easy ways to bring plumbing and everything else down. But okay, time to take some measurements, get her off the lift, and start putting together something so we can show you what we plan to do in the inside. So I hadn't actually planned to throw the 4WT up and show it in this video, but you know, it's right here. The lift's right there. So let's go give it a try. To give you an idea of how similar these are, this is the 4WT, which is quite a bit heavier than the van is, as it's got the larger battery pack on it. They made this super tough from a suspension component standpoint. You notice the battery looks very, very familiar, but the motor is exactly the same. You can't see it because they put a skid plate on this, which I wish they had put, sort of a skid plate, which I wish they had put on the BrightDrop, and I may see if I can make fit or something similar to it. The motor is exactly the same part number as the previous one, and the area that should have had a spare tire on the BrightDrop has a not full-size spare. It's kind of the truck equivalent of a donut below it on the 4WT. Overall, very impressive, very rugged. Look how thick these are. Design. But this is also why I have a 12,000 pound lift and not a little baby normal home lift, because I wanted to be able to lift things like this into place and not really have to stress it. See, same motor, same CV joint, which all of them have that kind of surface rest on them, which is not really actually a problem. The biggest difference between this and the BrightDrop, this has a very different suspension system on it. But the suspension system on the BrightDrop is super non-complicated. So really not worried about that. But yeah, nonetheless, this thing's huge. And you can always tell that the lug nuts this thing has. It's just really heavy. This 12,000 pound lift you can hear is doing some work to put it in the air. So, okay, let's put this back down. And then we can start doing some planning on how we're going to utilize all of that space in the BrightDrop. Okay, so what does that mean for this guy if we're going to convert the other one directly? So our plan now is to pull the body off of it like we were going to do anyways, but then do a full frame restoration. Get rid of the gassy engine, put a Tesla power unit up front, probably a large power unit out of a Model Y, and then engineer a multi-pack system for it, with the goal of getting something close to 200 kilowatt hours, which we believe will give us something over 300 miles of range. And now, with the revelation that there are available high power DC to DC converters out there, we can merge disparate packs together. We don't have to try to match voltages across them and get them perfectly balanced. We can run off of one as the primary pack and use it to charge the other ones or to supplement the other ones through the DC to DC converters. I think that's going to be our plan moving forward. So we'll have to see. My wife's smarter than me, and she wanted something that we could use sooner, and she knows that this project is a 2-year project. The other project, if I actually don't ADD out and go do 15 other things, will probably take 3 or 4 months along with my real job. So let's go figure out what we're going to do with that. But nonetheless, hope you come along for the ride, and thank you guys for watching.